So when it comes to great tricep development, guys, we need to make sure that those triceps, there's 3 separate muscles. So we're wanting to make sure that we hit the right exercise selection, we want to hit the right angles, and we want to make sure that we're stimulating the triceps with all those different rep ranges, from the heavy loads, the compounds, the isolation, the exercises that are going to get you to work that tricep in the full range of motion to get the most out those arms. Okay. Technique wise, we want to make sure that we keep the elbows nice and tight against the body. We then want to also make sure that as we get to the top of the exercise and we extend the arms, when you extend those arms, that's when the tricep is going to be under full contraction. So I've saw best development for myself is making sure that you do go through that full range of motion. So you focus on getting that stretch in the tricep at the bottom, and then you do focus on fully extending at the top. So tricep narrow press, you want to make sure that the grip, shoulder width apart, we're going to drive it up. Okay. Keep those shoulder blades back. 1. And make sure we keep everything nice and controlled. 2. And for me, I've always found that as long as I can keep that weight under control, that I'm always going to be focusing really using those triceps rather than using my chest, rather than using my shoulders. As the sets go on, as the weight gets heavier, I tend to find that if the triceps do start to get a bit sore, that your shoulders and your chest will come into play just to try really help you out. But ideally, we want to make sure that we're focusing all that stress on the tricep, on the back of the arm. So making sure that you are keeping that under control is going to really focus the weight and all that tension through those triceps. Weight felt good, so we're going to add more weight per set. So full range of motion, we're going to hit heavier weights, we're going to hit more volume, we're going to get stimulation by using dumbbells, barbells, cable, and that's going to really encompass and make sure that the tricep is getting blasted and hit from all angles and all aspects to make sure that they grow, develop, and basically give you that shape and condition that you're really driving for. And for me, it's always picking the right exercise for those reps and those sets. And so when it comes to that compound, like the barbell narrow tricep press, it's one of those exercises where I can focus on more weight. And so the rep scheme is going to be that slightly less in that kind of strength rep curve. So I will be aiming for sets of 6 and really going for that maximum amount of weight. Okay, so moving on from the barbell narrow press, we're going to do the EZ bar, which is going to give me a bit less stress on the wrist, and we're going to do lying tricep extensions. Now, I've seen so many different variations of this, and I've tried so many different variations of this, and I've ultimately went back to my original variation of really keeping the elbows at 90 degrees and actually bringing the bar straight towards my forehead and keeping the angle on my elbows nice and tight has actually gave me the most amount of stress and the most amount of tension on the triceps, and I've seen different angles of people going behind the head or elevating at a 45-degree angle. And based on my own experience and what I've kind of seen is just going back to basics again on keeping the elbows tight. I know some people have problems with the elbows. I've never really had that many problems with the elbows doing this exercise, and I've really found that by doing this, my triceps have come on leaps and bounds. So it's really focusing on the elbows nice and tight, keeping that at a 90-degree angle, bringing the bar towards the forehead and extending at the top. So driving back, make sure the elbows are nice and tight. And one wee technique I actually tend to do as well is as I come down and I get to the bottom, if I actually relax the tricep a wee bit and squeeze the bicep, and I put a wee bit of an angle in terms of twisting the wrist forward, I actually feel I get a bigger, it just gives me an extra probably 1 or 2 centimeters, but I get a far bigger stretch. And once I've got that tricep under the most amount of stretch and I start to load it with weight, that's when I really feel that all that stress and all that pressure in the tricep, you see most development right from that elbow, and it kind of lengthens out that tricep, and it really gives that development and that shape, and it creates that nice kind of horseshoe motion. Now that weight was quite light, just making sure I can get the technique, making sure that I was feeling it in the right places. So I'm going to increase that load per set. And again, like most of the exercise I do, I will always make sure that I do the first couple of sets a wee bit lighter. I make sure that I can feel the exercise working the muscle. I make sure that everything feels good before I start loading more weight, and I never tend to sacrifice the form or the technique for the weight. I'll always use the right weight for how I'm feeling that day. There will be days where I'll be feeling great and I'll be really able to load more weight, but there will be other days where I'm feeling tired, whether I trained chest yesterday or I trained shoulders, and that will affect my arm workout. So you kind of need to take things on that day-to-day basis on how your arms are feeling and adjust the weight accordingly. Oh, those triceps are absolutely on fire. So now moving on to the cable triceps, we've had the tricep under load with a bit more weight. We've had the tricep loaded when it's under the most amount of stretch. So now, me in that stand-up position, we're now going to focus on basically contracting those elbows, keeping the elbows nice and tight, but extending the arms outwards, which is really going to focus on a different angle for the tricep, which is going to really get that tricep to now develop and grow in a far different manner from those compound exercises before. I'd be using the cables more for a bit more volume rather than a bit more weight, and we're really focusing on keeping that tension on the tricep. So elbows nice and tight. I like to keep the body nice and tight to the cable. Keeps that angle and keeps that stretch. As we pull down, extend. That tricep getting worked harder and harder and harder, and that ultimately, we're now going to follow up that stress, making sure that the nutrition is on point, and that's that formula for success, for growth, for mass, and for gaining phenomenal triceps. So I'm just focusing on actually getting that muscle to work as hard as possible. under the most amount of load. So we go up, again. So it's focusing on that stretch, which for me is right there. Extend. So for me, guys, my triceps are absolutely gassed. I feel like they've not got that much more to give in terms of the exercise selection. With anything that I tend to do, exercise, I always make sure that we're focusing on getting the most amount from the least amount of work. So if I can get my tricep or my chest or my legs to be fully fatigued, fully exhausted with 4 or 5 great exercises using the right amount of load, the right amount of resistance, then that's the job done. The other part of the stimulus is just focusing now on nutrition to complement that workout, which is going to really build your physique. So for this week, that is our tricep workout, and I look forward if you make sure that you subscribe, you like and you comment, and I look forward to seeing you on next week's episode.